first step was research. I spent days analyzing potential clients, identifying gaps in supply chains, and mapping exporters who were dissatisfied with current service providers. I compiled a detailed spreadsheet of contacts, potential revenue streams, and logistical challenges. By the end of the week, I had a rudimentary plan. I would connect local textile producers directly with international clients, handling logistics, quality assurance, and communication. It was a lean model, low on capital but high on effort and strategy. Convincing my first client was harder than I expected. I pitched the idea to a small fabric producer who had been struggling to get orders abroad. He was skeptical, wary of someone young and relatively inexperienced, but I had learned the power of preparation, confidence, and persistence. I showed him the potential, detailed the workflow, and offered to manage his first international shipment at minimal risk to him. After tense discussions and several assurances, he agreed. The first shipment was a whirlwind of challenges. Customs paperwork was confusing, freight charges fluctuated, and communication with overseas buyers was fraught with delays. I stayed awake for nights, coordinating between parties, solving problems before they escalated, and documenting everything meticulously. When the shipment finally arrived safely and the client received payment, I felt a surge of accomplishment unlike anything before. It was validation, not just that I could manage a project, but that I could create value independently. Word began to spread. Other small producers, noticing the success of my first client, approached me. I was gaining a reputation for reliability, speed, and transparency. Camel remained a mentor and advisor, helping me navigate complex logistics and financial decisions. Slowly, the business grew, but not without pressure. There were late nights, missed opportunities, and moments where I questioned whether I was in over my head. But each challenge reinforced a lesson. Perseverance, adaptability, and integrity were more important than shortcuts or luck. Despite the growing demands, I made time for personal growth. I began attending seminars on entrepreneurship, trade, and digital marketing. I read books on negotiation, leadership, and strategy. I practiced mindfulness, learning to manage stress and maintain clarity under pressure. My life became a delicate balancing act, managing a fledgling business, sustaining relationships, learning constantly, and still finding moments for introspection. I also encountered ethical dilemmas that tested my principles. Some overseas buyers pressured for substandard materials, threatening to cancel contracts if I didn't comply. Some local producers tried to cut corners, reduce quality, or withhold information. Each decision was a test: compromise for profit or stand firm for integrity. Time and again, I chose the latter, knowing that reputation and trust were worth more than immediate gain. Over time, this approach earned me respect and loyalty from both clients and producers, solidifying the foundation for something that could grow sustainably. By the end of the year, I had managed multiple shipments, expanded my client base, and built a network that spanned cities and borders. I was no longer the uncertain 19-year-old who had left Dhaka, yet I was still learning, evolving, and hungry for growth. I realized that ambition was a journey without a fixed destination. Every achievement opened doors to new challenges, every success revealed a new horizon. One evening, as I stood on a hill overlooking the port, watching ships sail into the horizon, I reflected on the journey. Dhaka had given me roots, Chittagong had given me wings, and now the world seemed like an open map waiting to be explored. I understood that the path ahead would be fraught with uncertainty, risk, and hard choices, but I felt ready. For the first time, I truly believed that I could carve a path that was entirely my own, one decision, one risk, and one success at a time. And in that moment, I vowed to myself, no matter how daunting the challenges, no matter how high the stakes, I would continue to push forward, guided by ambition, tempered by integrity, and fueled by the unshakable belief that the world was mine to explore. The first few months of success had me riding high, almost invincible. I felt like I could take on the world, like no challenge was too great and no risk too daunting, but reality has a way of humbling even the most confident. My first major setback arrived quietly, almost innocuously, but it would leave a lasting impact. It started with a large shipment for a client I had cultivated over several months. The order was substantial, enough to double my usual revenue if everything went smoothly. I had vetted the suppliers, coordinated the logistics, and confirmed everything with the buyer. Confidence coursed through me as I signed off on the shipment. Then disaster struck. A paperwork error at customs caused a delay, and the shipping company misplaced part of the cargo. The client grew impatient, threatening to cancel the deal and publicly denounce my services. I scrambled, making phone calls at all hours, coordinating alternative solutions, and even personally traveling to the port to resolve the issue. Despite my efforts, the shipment arrived late, and the client withheld a portion of the payment. I felt the first real sting of failure. The setback wasn't just financial, it was emotional. I questioned my abilities, my decisions, and even my dream of independence. That night, I sat alone in my small office, staring at the piles of invoices and documents, feeling the weight of responsibility press down on me. For the first time, I felt fear fear that my ambitions might outpace my capacity to handle them. But as the hours passed, I realized something crucial. Failure wasn't a verdict, it was feedback. It showed me where my systems were weak, where assumptions were risky, and where I had room to grow. I started analyzing the incident step by step. I traced the paperwork mishap, identified the communication breakdowns, and designed contingency plans for future shipments. I reached out to the client not with excuses but with transparency, accountability, and a plan to prevent future issues. Slowly, trust was rebuilt, and the relationship recovered stronger than before. The experience changed me. I became more meticulous, more disciplined, and more strategic. I learned to anticipate problems, prepare for worst-case scenarios, and manage both clients and suppliers with a sharper eye. The thrill of success was no longer enough. I needed resilience, adaptability, and foresight to sustain it. Beyond business, the setback affected my personal life. Long nights and constant pressure strained friendships and family connections. Rabu and Ayat noticed my exhaustion and worry. I struggled to balance work and home, to show love and attention while carrying the weight of my responsibilities. I realized that ambition without balance was unsustainable, that success could feel hollow if it cost relationships and health. I started creating routines to maintain mental clarity. Morning walks to clear my head, short journaling sessions to process stress, and deliberate breaks to spend with my family. I learned to communicate openly with Rabu about challenges, fears, and plans, and I discovered that sharing burdens lightened them, allowing me to face problems with renewed strength. Slowly, the business began to grow again, this time on a foundation fortified by experience and caution. I took on slightly smaller shipments initially, focusing on precision and reliability rather than scale. Each success rebuilt confidence and each challenge taught resilience. I discovered the subtle art of patience, the understanding that sustainable growth is rarely linear, and that setbacks are often the silent architects of wisdom. I also began mentoring younger entrepreneurs who reached out to me, sharing lessons learned from my failures. It was surprising how rewarding this became. Helping someone navigate pitfalls, avoiding mistakes I had already made, created a sense of purpose beyond profit. I realized that true achievement was not just in personal success, but in empowering others to rise alongside you. By the end of the year, I had weathered both triumph and failure, exhilaration and fear. I understood that ambition is a double-edged sword. It propels you forward, but it also exposes vulnerabilities. I had grown, not just as a businessman, but as a person capable of facing uncertainty with courage and learning from each experience. As I watched another sunset over the bustling port city, I reflected on the roller coaster that had become my life. Each day was a lesson, each challenge a test, and each small victory a step toward a horizon that seemed simultaneously close and infinite. I didn't have all the answers, and I wasn't sure what the future held, but I knew this. I would continue to strive to learn and to push forward, fueled by a mix of ambition, love, and the unwavering belief that my journey was mine to shape. And in that quiet moment, I realized that life's greatest victories were often forged in the fires of adversity, and that even when the path seemed darkest, determination and integrity would light the way. As the months rolled on, I realized that survival alone wasn't enough. I wanted growth, expansion, the kind of success that demanded not just effort but vision. After the customs mishap, I was cautious, but caution didn't mean hesitation. I began exploring new markets, reaching out to clients in nearby cities, and even considering international partners. My ambition was no longer just about immediate profit. It was about creating something that could endure, something that could withstand both human error and the unpredictable tides of business. I remember the first major Oppo